Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of 1001 Business Problems Solved with Microsoft Teams, where we bring you the solution to a common business problem every week and send you on your way with a DIY solution in 6 minutes or less. Today, I want to give you a great solution if you are a lower to middle level manager in a large company, as well as if you are an individual contributor regardless of company size. More specifically, what to do if you are a big believer in the power of teams when used well as a workgroup, but you don't think you have the authority to make any changes. I'm Annie Rind and I feel for you. We see this problem every week. Here's the problem. I know this sounds ageist, but let's face it. So many business owners and senior-level business leaders are older. They grew up in the business world where everything was done with email and shared servers. This new generation of collaborative tools means a massive paradigm shift, and too many of those older managers either can't fathom the benefits of going all in on Teams instead of email and the old way of doing business. Or they simply don't think those benefits are worth the change effort required. It really is a joy to see a handful of those senior leaders, whether on their own or with our help, see the light and get on fire for Teams. So here's what converts those naysayers to becoming champions for Teams and why most of those become the strongest advocates for Teams. They are smart. They are problem solvers, or they wouldn't be successful after decades in business. They know value when they see it. So, if you have no power in your organization, if you have their ear at all, you can likely turn them into advocates and change agents by somehow getting them to see one or more business problems solved brilliantly with Teams or Microsoft 365. Now, before I tell how to do that, I hear you saying, I don't have the power to do anything in Teams because that is all handled at the corporate level or at least by someone higher than me. In most cases, there's a very good chance you're mistaken. Whether you're a lower-level manager in a corporation or an individual contributor without authority, your biggest hurdle is getting ownership of a team site, and let me tell you, it's probably a super low hurdle. With the possible exception of financial services or other heavily regulated industries, I bet you can get ownership of a team site. And even in those heavily regulated industries, I've seen local offices get ownership of their team site by communicating well with the departments who control the regulatory issues. Not always, but often. Of course, it's best if it's ownership of your own workgroup's team site, but I bet you can find a way to get ownership of some other team site if not. Perhaps a project site, especially if you are a part of a project team without a site. If you're a manager in a corporation, there's a good chance you're already an owner of your team whether you know it or not. If you're not, a simple request to the IT department will get you ownership. It doesn't hurt to ask, and my guess is that you can get it. Here's why. In most larger companies, the IT team often builds teams for departments and assigns the leader ownership. Since most leaders don't know what to do with the team site, it just sits there after a couple of early adopters post a few topics on channels that nobody knows what to do with. Then, everyone just starts using Teams only for video meetings and an occasional chat message. In those cases, someone needs to take the reins and leverage the team site to improve things. I've covered how to customize and successfully roll out a team site in previous episodes. Episode 19 is perhaps the best one to listen to if you're short on time. Now, if you're an individual contributor without authority of any kind, here's what you do to get ownership. Go to your boss. Say, hey boss, our team site is just sitting there doing us little good. Would you be opposed to me customizing it so that it helps our workgroup work more efficiently? I'd almost bet the farm that you will get ownership. You may have to request ownership from the IT department, but at least you'll have your boss's backing. Remember, the IT department's mission is to give the workforce the tools they need to be successful. That includes, among other things, making sure your computers and other devices work and that your apps and platforms function. It is not their job to do the work for you. After all, you don't generally call them up when you need an Excel spreadsheet built or a new folder in your Outlook inbox. Likewise, their job is just to make sure Teams functions for you and your workgroup. They are not responsible for customizing the team site to facilitate your workgroup's work. That's up to you and perhaps your boss. I'm rooting for you. I bet you'll succeed. And when you do, you'll have one big honking feather in your hat because it will make your workgroup so much more effective, and trust me, you will be noticed. It will make so much of a difference that it can't help but be noticed. If nothing else, your work life will become far less complicated and frustrating. So, what did you think of that solution? If you liked it, or if you like this weekly podcast, I encourage you to give us a rating on your podcast app. It only takes a second. If you have the time, even consider typing out a quick review. We're still new to the podcasting world, and to reach more listeners and help more businesses, it's important to be recommended. And if you have a business problem eating at you and you suspect we could help you solve it, please drop it in the comments or contact us over at countyquest.com. Your problem solution might be the subject of an episode in the near future. With that, I want you to have a great week. This is Annie, signing off.